AI is going to be able to do a lot of people's jobs right now. And a lot people are coming out freaking out. Oh no, are we going to lose our job or what's going to happen? The thing that I don't think most people realize is that every time in our history, is if we go back and look, there's always been, anytime something like this has happened, whether it's been the Industrial Revolution, when internet came out, we didn't know what the future was going to look like. So you go and look at those times, a lot of jobs were lost, but tons of opportunities came out of that. Welcome to another episode of Dental Riffs. This is a podcast where Tanner and I just talk about whatever we want. And my name is Gary Bird. I am the CEO of SMC National. We are a dental marketing company that creates predictable new patient flow for offices just like yours.
My name is Tanner Applegate, CEO and founder of Unify. We are a SaaS platform that helps solve all of your different software solutions for your dental office. I got to say, Gary, if this is your first time listening, you made it very enticing to want us today.
Yeah, maybe we cut that part out.
We talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, I got to figure out what a tagline is for like what we actually do on this show. Like maybe I just start, because I have all these other podcasts. So I need to start like segmenting them and saying this one is about this and this one is about this. So that way it's clear what it's about.
I mean, it's true. We talk about whatever we want, whatever we're passionate about. But what we're passionate, I mean, we're a bunch of nerds, data people. We love like businesses and processes. So if you're an entrepreneur who loves talking about processes or data or innovation or technology, I mean, you're in the right place.
All right. So I'm super excited to look at this dental survey around salary that you have, because I think there's some juicy stuff in that, Tanner. But before we get into that, I wanted to share a story with you that went viral online, and I got a lot of backlash for it. And I think that you might have a different perspective on it, and I might be wrong. So I want to get your feedback on it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to tell you about the comments that I'm getting on that story. So sometime back, it was a while ago, we had a team member that came onto our team. They had a second job. They didn't disclose that. And we told them like, hey, you can't have this second job. And they said, okay, I quit it, and they came on and they were making close to or right over $100,000 a year. So this is a decent job, pretty good job where we work remote. So keep that in mind. And we were working with this individual, and they knew they weren't supposed to have a second job. And they went out and they got on their one-on-one in their car. So we have one-on-ones, they're video, just like you and I are on a video right now.
They weren't hosting it.
What was that?
They weren't hosting it. They were participating. They were the one receiving the one-on-one.
Yeah. So it's them and their boss, them and their direct manager.
Okay.
And so they're in their car, and we have a rule on that. Like, we don't take our one-on-ones in cars because we've had people traveling and doing, it's just distracting, right? And it's probably not safe. And so we were like, hey, you can't do your one-on-one in the car. You know that. This is a rule. And he was like, I'm going to be done really, really soon. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just dropping off a pizza. And he's just like, The manager didn't know what to do, right? And he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's just like, bro, this is so blatant. Like, we have to let this individual go because we've already told him you can't have a second job. You need to be working during these times, and you for sure can't be delivering pizzas. Well, in the comment section, so I posted this story. It's a pretty funny story. In the comment sections, like 90% of the comments are negative of like, clearly you were not paying him enough. That's the problem, is that you're not paying a living wage. And I've told people like, hey, he was making good money. And maybe he needed more money. Maybe he didn't manage it correctly. And then the comments, when I commented like that, a lot of people were like, that's not good money for New York. That's not good money for LA. You should have paid him more. This is on you. And I'm just like, in my head, one or two comments, no big deal. But when you have hundreds of comments like this, I'm just like, okay, am I doing something wrong? Did we do something wrong? What am I missing here?
So I'm going to be a little controversial here, Gary, and I'm going to side with the comments on this because to me, like, I don't know, maybe this is a bad trait of mine, but to me, if this guy is bold enough to hustle an additional side job, do it while he knows a meeting is coming up, be upfront enough to say, hey, I'm actually doing this, like, give me like a few minutes to finish it. Like, that personality type, depending on the role he fits, I'm like, this guy's like a hustler, man. Like that's like the whole entrepreneurial thing to do would be like, I'm going to take the status quo and I'm going to break outside of it. And so it's that kind of personality that for me, I would meet with the guy and be like, or girl, I don't know who it is, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I'd meet with them and be like, all right, so I'm hearing this story. You got to tell me what's going on. Like, why are you doing this? Right. Like to me, this is so like outlandish that I would get involved, right? Let's say that it's someone that reports to me and like 3 layers down. I'd still get involved and be like, all right, tell me what's going on. And then I would want to get to know this person to be like, okay, like what is their true like outcome or desire in life, right? If they're trying to make an extra buck, then yes, I might still go ahead and fire them just like you did. But if they're like, they're out there trying to like, they got that hustle mentality of like, I want to build something. I want to have a big impact, all those things. Like to me, I love taking people like that and giving them a creative opportunity to do something unique, right? Not something that's like high risk for the company, right? If it doesn't go well, it's going to end up collapsing and ruining everything. But honestly, giving them an opportunity like, hey, I've been considering this. I'm going to let you run with it. You run with it. Here's what you can get. If you don't run with it, that's fine. Like, well, at least we tried.
Yeah. I hear you. I wish I could share more like about like position and all that kind of stuff. I can't do that because it's hitting too close to home. But anyways, this is why I love the internet, because when I think like, oh, no one's going to care about this, then it gets 5 million views. And then when I'm like, okay, this is clearly I did the right thing here and I'm going to share this story and people are going to think it's interesting. And then it's like totally opposite. So I love that. So let's dive into, I appreciate your feedback too, your honest feedback. That's really, really helpful. So let's dive into that salary survey that you reviewed.
Yeah, for sure. So this is juicy. So to kind of preface it, this is from Dental Post. I don't know if they do this every year or not. I ran into it through some kind of people that have gone through and set it up. But so 2023 salary survey report. This thing is a behemoth. And I think that we should probably break out a lot of this into different ones. I've only been able to review, they do it for every position in the dental office. I've only been able to review the dentist side of it. So we'll go through and chat about some of the things that stood out to me, but we might be chatting about this for a while with hygienists, office managers, etc. And one thing, I think the reason why this was so exciting for me was that this was probably the most well-done report in salary that I've ever seen within dental.
Oh, wow.
I don't think it gets enough love as well. Like the fact that I'd never heard of it. I'd never seen anyone even chat about it.
Who did the report again?
Dental Post, which
okay,
I think that they are a temp hiring agency where you can come on, like hire like temp hygienists and stuff. So it's not like somebody that isn't qualified for it. I think they've done a good job. But anyways, so this report is pretty impressive. So I want to go through some of my findings that stood out to me. Okay, so in the last year, Gary, what would you guess that the dentist's salary has gone up or down from 2021 compared to 2022?
Ooh, I'm gonna guess 2021 to 2022.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess it went down.
Okay, how much?
I'm gonna annual salary. I'm gonna guess
percentage.
Percentage. I'm gonna guess 4%.
Okay. In a private practice, it's gone down 2.25%, and in a corporate setting, it went up actually 1%.
Ooh. Okay, that's juicy.
So all of the owner dentists.
Define corporate dentist is just anybody who doesn't own the practice, their associates, basically.
Actually, no, sorry. Owner dentists went down 2.2%, and employee associate dentists went up 1%.
Perfect. Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
So that was one thing that stood out to me. But then what was interesting as well is I took that decrease from an owner dentist, and I said, I wonder how much it's gone down. So as I was flipping through the hygiene section, the hygienist in a corporate setting went up 7.25% in just 1 year. That's not even from 2020 to 2021, right? That's 21 to 2022. So that went up 7.25%.
I bet you it's probably like double that if you were to range it back one more year to 2022.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Totally. I agree. I think that it's great. So to me, what all this is sitting there emphasizing is like, it is a bad day to be an owner dentist, right? Your associates are making more. They've gone up. Your hygienists are definitely making more. And all of a sudden, this is all getting squeezed to the bottom line. That's not even to count things like inflation in your supply costs and all these other things. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's hard to deal with when you have a service that you provide and the service already is deemed as expensive, right? So like nobody, I've never seen anybody get a dental bill and go, oh, this is reasonable, right? Like everybody's always like, that's more than I thought it was going to be for everything. Doesn't matter if it's from a filling to all on four. So when you take a product or a service like that in a business setting and people know they need it, and then you add in inflation and you add in the cost of labor going through the roof, it's going to smash your what you're making. And now there's ways to offset that, but it's a long road, right? You can hire younger, train. You have to have better systems. Like this is where business gets very, very interesting, Tanner, is that whoever has the most, entrepreneurial or business mindset is going to win this game in the long term. And I don't know if people do. Like if I was a full-time dentist doing dentistry, I don't know if I'd be thinking about building a hygienist farm, where I could farm out talent from, because I'm busy doing the work. And I think that's where the dilemma comes in with a lot of these doctors is I'm busy being a dentist, and there's also a business over here that needs tending to because it doesn't make sense.
In my mind, like when I first kind of read it, I jumped to this idea of like, oh, these poor owner dentists, like they're going to end up needing to sell, everything's getting squished. But the reality is like, I think there's more cushion there than we give credit to.
100%.
Right. If you look at a average full-time associate income, it went up from 193,000 to 195,000. But if you look at the average owner doctor income, it went down from 296,000 to 290,000. Right. So there's still $100,000 difference between an owner dentist versus an associate dentist. That to me, obviously it's getting closer, right? That gap is closing a little bit, but it's fascinating to me. It's almost another 50% increase in their salary for being an owner dentist. So I think that there's still some room to go. Obviously the people on the ends are like the ones that have a machine that's not running very well. They are going to end up needing to close shop or take less than an associate, et cetera. But I think in general, we still have a lot of room for pay increases and not having it negatively impact the owner dentist too much.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's also fascinating to me that the private practice dentist was making $290,000 and the corporate owner dentist was making $340,000. So that was another almost
So define a corporate owner dentist, a dentist that owns multiple locations or has multiple associates.
I don't know. Maybe a partner or some type of equity owner in a corporate setting, right? Maybe they're the sole one. Maybe they own multiple. I don't know. Like I imagine like with the MP2 structure, right? You've got a lot of owner dentists in that model.
So then, if they're making 340, it's like, so this is how my brain works. It's like, okay, I can be an owner dentist, own a single location, kind of do my own thing, be there by myself. I'm going to make about $300,000 a year. I can make another $40,000 a year, but I'm going to have to bring on a lot of associates. I'm going to have to open up more locations. Like, is that worth it? Now, if you go beyond that and you keep building, obviously you can make a lot more money, right? You can make millions of dollars a year if you build it big enough and it doesn't tip over on you. So that's interesting to me. That number is actually more interesting to me than the other ones, because that kind of gives you that gap, that pay gap of the risk reward of building more of a DSO or a group.
Well, but at the same time too, though, you could take that individual practice, sell a portion of it to a DSO, and now you're a partner in a DSO. Your pay can still increase, but you don't necessarily have to take on all that risk of building the DSO yourself.
Yeah, but the upside is not as great. Your upside
potentially,
yeah, because you're getting the upside of just that one practice. Where
right,
it's like owning houses, right? So if you own one house, if I own one house, the equity I'm going to get for 30 years, I get the equity increase. If I can figure out how to buy a second house and hold two houses for 30 years, then I'm going to get the equity gain in both of them, in 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, right? And owning multiple practices, it's very similar. It's not that simple, right? If it was that simple, everybody would do it. But yeah, your upside is way lower owning a single practice, being a partner in a DSO, than I'm the DSO owner, I'm the group owner, and I'm opening up these practices that have, value. Each one has, multiple of value.
Yeah. One thing though that we saw when we were as a DSO, as we were buying offices, these people think that they're running an efficient company, right? An efficient practice, but it's amazing when you put in these basic business principles, decent marketing, right? Scheduling processes, etc. Like these salaries of these dentists without increasing their hours of work can have a significant bump and increase by just actually having that
is
support
interesting.
around that.
Yeah, that is interesting. So if my goal is not to necessarily build a big empire, and that's just not, I've never wanted to do that, but I want to make another $5,000 a month, $4,000 or $5,000 a month take home, that's big. Like that is a big jump, and make my life easier because I have somebody helping me manage a lot of the stuff I don't like doing. Like I didn't get into dental to be a dentist to manage HR, you know what I mean? And to figure out how to answer the phones correctly and figure out marketing and all those kind of things. So that is really interesting.
It's not an equity play; it's a take-home play.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's a short-term win versus the long-term win, but also protecting your long-term by partnering with the right group. So that's really cool. You know, this is interesting because this kind of leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about. And so we see this reset happening in dental, but there's also a reset, and I think it's even bigger than dental. It's moving faster than in dental. It's a tech reset. And so let me tee this up for our audience. So the tech reset, what is that? Well, basically money's getting tight right now. So people are not loaning and giving money like they were just last year. And so a lot of these tech companies don't have this endless well of revenue that they can tap into in lending. And so everybody's starting to cut fat. And that's why you're seeing all these tech layoffs, is because people are cutting the fat in their teams. The biggest example of this is Twitter. Twitter cut the vast majority of their team, yet they still have a working app, yet they're still making improvements. And now people are starting to question, is this the future of technology? Do we need these bloated teams? Do we need to have all these people? Or can we run lean and mean, which is totally different? And it's starting to really change the way these companies are thinking. At the same time, you also have now AI rolling out, which is going to take a lot of the creative jobs, the writing jobs, and those kind of things in these tech companies. And so, and then that also causes a shift in how people search and how people use the internet. So you have all these huge things happening at the same time. And it's absolutely fascinating to watch from the sidelines. Who knows where it's going to end, but it's definitely the mindset of technology companies is changing right in front of us.
Yeah, obviously kind of the general vibe that I've always been hearing is, oh, there's going to be a ton of layoffs because they're prepping for a winter to come, right? A financial winter to come. And I believe that's true, right? I think that they definitely are seeing something happening where it is going to be that way. But I do agree that I think there's a different shift happening as well, where we're using this financial winter as an excuse. That's kind of our front running excuse. But the reality is yeah, we've recognized we don't need this amount of labor or quality of labor. And also there's a type of labor that is shifting away from that. We don't need this type of labor.
Yep.
And so I do think that they are cutting a lot of these big teams, not with the intention of always necessarily saving money, but the fact that their work is changing.
Yeah. And this is interesting because that's the part that everybody gets hung up on, that right there. And that video that we created, that even though it wasn't the intention of the video, we were just explaining how AI is going to be able to do a lot of people's jobs right now. And a lot people are coming out freaking out. Oh no, are we going to lose our job, or what's going to happen? The thing that I don't think most people realize is that every time in our history, is if we go back and look, there's always been, anytime something like this has happened, whether it's been the Industrial Revolution, when internet came out, we didn't know what the future was going to look like, but tons of opportunities came out of that. So you go and look at those times, a lot of jobs were lost. Like there was a lot of blacksmiths back in the day that are no longer around. And there's still people who shoe horses for a living, but it's very small compared to the one in every single town. There was a blacksmith, and that went away when automobiles and things like that came out. But that created more opportunities. And then when telephones came out, we had a bunch of switchboard operators in every single town, every single area. And then that changed, and that created more opportunities. You had secretaries, you had administrative jobs, you had other jobs that opened up in offices that you didn't really need them before. And so I just see this creating more opportunities, but I understand why it's so scary to people.
Yeah, I recently, I've got a sister who's also in an entrepreneurial journey right now, and I sent her a TikTok around AI, and she kind of went down this deep rabbit hole, and deeper, I think, than me, honestly. And she's now contacted kind of this AI expert guru girl who helps it implement it for people's businesses and such. And this girl, this AI expert, she said, the skill set that is going to become in most value is going to be prompt engineering, right? The ability to write in natural language what exactly you want outputted. And to me, it took me a little bit of time to like fully embrace and like accept that I was like, you don't go around and have like Google like search engineering, right? Like I'm not going to go in and say, how do I make my Google search more effective? But at the same time, I'm also having to spend a lot of time trying to figure out this outcome that I'm trying to get through my search. Whereas with prompting, if I can go in and get it right the first time, it saves a lot of time. So I thought it was a fascinating idea that there's just like a direct new position is prompt engineers.
Yeah, prompt engineers. Yeah, if you go on YouTube or go online and just type in like prompt hacks and things like that, it's amazing. And really what it made me realize, Tanner, is that I'm not very good at asking and being super clear on exactly what I want the first time. Because if I was, I'd get exactly what I wanted the first time. But it made me realize that I actually don't know exactly what I want. I kind of know what I want, and then I have to fill it out. So now I find myself asking questions like, what are the top keywords for this kind of search or this kind of business? And then it gives me the top 10 keywords. And then I say, okay, I need now copy written with these keywords worked in, focused on this, where before I would have just said, write me copy for this and make it keyword rich, right? And that's a different outcome. Each time it's going to give you a different outcome. And so then there's like direct prompt. So have you used Mid-Journey? Have you played with that on Discord? Yeah. I just subscribed to it. So it's the first AI product that I actually paid for that is creating like art. And I played with a couple others, but Mid-Journey is really good. And if you learn how to ask for the right thing with that, the outcomes on it are amazing. And so what I do is I go in there in Discord and I'm actually looking through everybody else's prompts. And I go, okay, I didn't even know what that was. Now I know to steal that prompt, put it down here, and give me the outcome similar to the one that they had mixed in with the other things that I want. And that I've been playing with a lot. I use it probably 5-10 times a day.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think that especially with images, prompt engineering is quickly understood, right? Like, oh, I want to use things like, oh, in this style of format or something like that, because it'll directly impact your output. But even with like the ChatGPT prompts, it's amazing how small changes in what and how you write the prompt will have huge output difference. And I don't think that people understand or really fully appreciate how much of a difference those outputs can be with just small tweaks in their prompt. And so really there is this whole economy around like education on how to do the most effective prompt engineering. And you can go through and look at people's like will literally do the minorest tweaks in their prompts to get this big difference in their outcomes. And it's fascinating to me that it's that much of a difference because it's easy to recognize that in imaging.
You know what it reminds me of is like when smartphones first came out and you had people who just didn't take the time to learn them. There's still people out there like that, right? And that are just like, yeah, I just use it to call and text. And I've helped like elderly women before that would like come to me and like, Gary, I don't know how to do this, you know? And I sit there and I'm like, okay, let me show you how to do this versus somebody who's like using their phone to make money and do day trading and to promote things on social media and running their business and getting reports from their POS and just like all these different things that you can use a phone for. It can also just be a phone too, right? And so I think a lot of this AI for people, yeah, it's super powerful and it's very, very fascinating if you can keep learning prompts and keep learning how to level it up. Or it could just be this thing that you're like, okay, whatever, it can write a poem or whatever, right? Like you could also see it as no value or very little value if you're not using it correctly.
Yeah, I've got a use case where I'm trying to create like background stock type of art, and I'm trying to automate it because I have to create hundreds of them. And it's fascinating trying to take, like, I can do it for an individual one, right? But now how do I replicate it where it gives me hundreds of these outputs? And it's fun kind of going through and seeing where the limitations are, where it's gotten to and where it hasn't gotten to, et cetera. It's interesting.
What'd you, so you got the picture you wanted. Did you upload it into like Midjourney and say, hey, I need multiple variations of this?
No, because you have to do it. I'm doing it kind of on an Excel spreadsheet style, right? So I've got, it's this whole project, right? So I got these dynamic pages being created across different content. And in order for this dynamic page to be done, I have to have a background image to exist in a certain page. And so every time I go and I update each one of these rows, I need a new image, and I can't have it just be stock. I want it to be dynamic and different for each one of them. And so what it actually does is you're taking these tools like Zapier or Make, and you say, hey, here's the information that's given. Here's the prompt that I already kind of pre-entered, and it shoots it over to DALL-E, and then it brings me back and it gives me a new image, right? So now I have to go in and do this mass over across 100 of them. And so it's automated. Every time I add a new line, it automatically triggers it to go and get me a new image, and I don't have to build it, right? So it's not like I'm doing it once manually. It's every time I add a new line, it automatically goes out and does that for me.
That's so cool.
I know, it
So
is
cool.
amazing. Adding automation on top of AI just opens up this whole new thing.
It does. Yeah. You can add I think that's the future for marketing in general, is just like, how do you automate all this stuff and tie it together? So you're not having to figure out and reinvent the wheel every single time.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen too with a lot of these like copywriting AIs, right? The thing with Chat GPT is that you can train its model, but you eventually kind of run out of limitations where it can't understand a bigger complex thing that you're trying to do specifically. But there are these AI models out there now where you can say, hey, go have it scan my website, understand my writing and my branding, and then I need to start writing things about this. And it will have already been pre-trained based off of the content that you've already created.
Have
and
you
that
seen
kind
voice?
of stuff is fascinating.
It is. Yeah. That's where it's all going. And have you seen voice.ai?
I haven't played with that one. No. What's
It's
that one
really
do?
cool. I haven't played with it, but I've just been watching videos on it. Basically, I can take our voice, so we could take this podcast that we're creating right now, and I could put you in the voice of like Joe Biden, and I could be Trump, and I could literally have both of our voices totally changed to sound like them, but with our exact words.
Right. I have heard of that. I haven't actually played around with those as well, but I watched this use case where a guy created an automatic robot. So they called someone to order pizza, and they responded dynamically based off of Chat GPT. Mm-hmm. But he didn't do a voiceover, which I thought was interesting. So to me, I'm always interested in like, hey, how do we take that model, make it dynamic, but then also make the voice sound natural? Mm-hmm. So it's only a matter of time before all that stuff happens, where you'll be able to literally like have something call out for you in a natural model, and you won't even be able to tell that
you
it's
won't be able to tell if it's human or not. Yeah. Like, and then what will happen is we'll learn like a little hack. If you say this to AI, it doesn't know how to respond. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Well,
so then
have you gone down the road of like how they're going to watermark AI?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Go ahead.
Fast.
Talk about it.
So ultimately, like, there's this whole concern about like, how are we going to be able to tell if it's human versus like AI written? Right. And so these AI generators like OpenAI are creating what's called a watermark, where they're saying, based off of frequency, like based off of a certain word type, what type of words can you respond after this word? Right. And so let's say that you say in the, right? Well, there's probably 1,000 different types, right? And they're going to say, okay, these 500 are whitelisted and these 500 are blacklisted. And so AI can only pick from this 500 that's whitelisted. And it's from there that you'll be able to go in and say, okay, it is based off of this whitelisted option that they picked and all the other ones that happen in the same document.
It's AI.
We have a 90% accuracy that it's AI.
Yeah, and so how you work around that is just by simply editing, right? So then you're gonna have a simple edit, just myself to go in and go through and just change a couple words around. That's one way. The other way is, let's say you have a book and you don't want people to figure out that it was written by AI. You take the original AI script and you have it rewritten in another program and change it. You just respin it and say, hey, this is my book. Need you to make this a little bit different, change it around, do these prompts. So there's still workarounds to it, right? But that's the future. I know we've talked about it before. The future is AI for AI. So we're going to need AI to figure out AI, and we're going to need AI to protect ourselves against AI, and we're going to need AI to go on the offensive against AI. That's the future. Is this person using AI? Is that how they're cranking out so much work, right? And they're doing 10x what any of our other team members are doing. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we take and scale that? And it's fascinating. I love that we're in this time. I was watching a podcast with Lex Friedman, and he was talking with this guy. I don't even know who the guy was, but he basically brought up, if we were, history buffs way in the future, we're at this like tipping point in humanity's time where, we look back at like the Industrial Revolution, or we look back at like World War II, or we look back at like the Enlightenment, and we say, look at these times where society tipped this way. And we don't know a lot of them, right? There's these dots back in time. He's like, we're in one of those right now. And we've thought it was going to come for a long time. We've been talking forever about, internet's going to change everything, and blockchain's going to change everything. And it has slowly, right? And it's made things a little bit easier. But now it's actually at that stage that everybody thought, the Jetsons was going to be, we're approaching that now, and we're in the middle of it now. It's really cool.
It is super fascinating. All right. Next week, I propose we chat about AI and education and how that's completely revolutionizing and changing everything, because that's super controversial, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool. All right, man. Sounds
good. All
good.
right, man. Talk to you later.
Peace.